The equation is simple. If Jesus did not resurrect from the dead, then there is no reason to believe his claims. But if Jesus did rise from the dead, then there is every reason to take every deed he did and every word he spoke seriously. The resurrection is God's stamp of authentication of Jesus. In this video, I want to look at what that means exactly and then share why it has been so significant to me personally. Now, in my opinion, Jesus' life is so spectacular that he's worth paying attention to even if he wasn't resurrected. There's a gravity to him. Many non-Christians even feel that gravity, but then when it comes to his claim to be divine, to have a special relationship with the Father, to be the judge of humanity, to be Lord of the universe, well, non-Christians are just as repelled by those statements as they are pulled by his other statements like do to others as you would be done to. I was at a large dinner party one time talking to a guy in his late 20s-ish. His dad was active in church, so I brought up Jesus and how he had transformed my life. We were in Dallas where there are a lot of cultural Christians, people who pay lip service to Jesus because it's culturally beneficial to do so. And this guy was amicable about Jesus, but he was honest and didn't feel compelled to be a cultural Christian, which I appreciated. He couldn't stomach the idea of Jesus being divine. He said something like, "I think Jesus said and did a lot of interesting things, but ultimately I'm not a Christian and I don't believe the Bible." So I asked him what parts. And he said especially the mythological part, like the notion that Jesus rose again. And that guy got the essence of what many philosophers have concluded. If you reject Jesus' resurrection, then you can reject everything about Jesus. But if he really did resurrect from the dead, then we need to take it all seriously. From a biblical standpoint, that's why God brought Jesus back from the dead. It was to authenticate Jesus' claims. It was to prove that he is God. Jesus referred to his own miracles to convince people to believe his words. Jesus told us, don't take my word for it, but to believe the works God did through him. Check it out. According to John chapter 10, verse 38, Jesus said, "If you see with your eyes and multiple people bear witness to the fact that I am doing miraculous things, like healing the sick and giving sight to the blind, then believe my message on account of those miracles, and not simply on account of my teaching or my claims." Right after Jesus resurrected and ascended to heaven, Peter began preaching the gospel, and he emphasized that authentication is a key reason for the miracles, to persuade us that Jesus acted on behalf of God. According to Acts chapter 2, verse 22, Peter said Jesus was a man accredited by God to you with miracles, wonders, and signs. And the most significant miracle, of course, is the resurrection. God resurrected Jesus in order to make his life and teaching credible. Now, that is the biblical point in this video I want to make about the significance of Jesus' resurrection. It authenticated his life and teaching. It certified him as actually being from God and his claim to actually be God. So here are a few takeaways from me personally based on this point. The first one I am picking up from a book by Doug Groothuis that he wrote on Blaise Pascal. The point is that God gives us enough evidence to condemn us for rejecting him, but not necessarily enough evidence to accept him without humility and faith. The evidence is not like 2 + 2 = 4. Now, we don't have faith in the evidence of the resurrection, but we have faith due to the evidence of the resurrection. There's a difference. The point, though, is that God still calls us to trust him in humility. God could use way more power and miracles to convince people to come to him, but he chooses not to. And he chooses not to for a reason. For those who want him, there is enough evidence to come to him. And for those who don't really want him, they would still reject him even if he did more to prove that he is here and available. That's the big point. And that leads me to my second takeaway. It's not necessarily up to you and me to convince people that God is real and that Jesus is true. Personally, I really struggle with this one. I often feel like it's 100% up to me to convince people or to give encyclopedic reasons for following Jesus. And often, if I don't feel confident enough, I shy away and I lack courage. And the one way I'm working on this is by preaching this truth to myself. That is not up to me. My responsibility is to talk about Jesus and share his message in love, and to give reasons, of course, why I think the way I do and hold the hope that I have. But my responsibility is not to win an argument or to persuade. Ultimately, that's between God and the other person, and it's up to me to actually pray and invite God into that situation to make that happen. But I don't have to have immense intellectual prowess or personal charisma to help make that happen. Well, that's enough for this post. I hope you found this walk through God's Word helpful. If you did, please do me a favor to like and subscribe and even share this with a friend if that person came to mind. Of course, my name is Aaron Massey. I've been preaching and teaching God's Word for about 15 years. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.